Akademiks loves this, talking about industry plants. I feel like a couple artists, I know Nav responded, some people started tweeting at him, I'm not sure why. But let's have this conversation. What is an industry plant?
Well, an industry plant at least. And by the way, I want to salute to all the message boards because I think this term came from them.
You're just going to start with a salute?
Yeah, I have to.
It's been a while.
But when we think about an industry plant, it's when you see a rapper or someone in the industry get a come up and you're wondering how the fuck they did it, especially when the fan base doesn't match up, right?
That sound like hate.
Huh?
That sound like hate.
That sound like hate? No.
When you see somebody come up and you're wondering how they did it?
No, not how they did it, but like if they don't have that fan base yet, and as many people are receiving their music as you would think it would be, how did they get to that point, right? So if someone's being nominated for like a Grammy and you're like, nobody's really fucking with that album like that, like how did that get done? That's some industry plant shit.
All right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate when you finish.
Right? Okay, so Chance's name has been thrown in the mix.
No,
Nav's
you keep saying it. You keep throwing his name in the mix.
Chance's.
No, I know.
A lot of people have said Chance's name. The reason why, and this is where it gets complicated, because I think a lot of people acknowledge that Chance has some other connections that help him do these magnificent things that other independent artists can't do. Are we agreeing? Right?
I'm following you so far.
So when people see from when he just started to where he came now, still independent.
That's ain't about to agree with you after that Friday shit you pulled.
I know.
Yo, do we agree? Yo, she looked at you like, nigga, talk.
She looking at me like I'm Russ. Come on, nigga, get to it.
I just want to hear your point.
Nah, but.
Oh, we got a while, man.
Can we squash the beef?
No, not yet.
I'm straight, I'm good.
But anyway.
Did you check your email?
I did check my email.
Oh my
God. All right, let's hear it.
Anyway, so I lost my train of thought.
Thank God.
Yo, that's how you get me off my point.
Chance,
my voice sounds
industry plant. A lot of people were saying it. That's what you were saying.
Yeah. Okay. So people looking at Chance and like how he did certain things and how from acid rap till now, his come up still independent. People know that there's some type of either outside influence or he has connections that the regular artists don't have. Mm-hmm. Because of that, a lot of people look at him like he's an industry plant. Now, it seems kind of anti him saying he's not industry and he's independent. Because how are you going to be an industry plant if you're independent? But I think now we're realizing maybe he's not as independent as he is. Remember the Apple thing, right? So we also saw other people. And it's one of those things where if you throw a stone in a fucking pen of like dogs, the one that squeals, or the pen of pigs, like the one that squeals is the one that got hit. Nav, he came out tweeted like, I'm not no fucking industry plant. Like I made my first hit song in my mom's house or whatever, and people are like, you are. And that's where it gets tricky again for me, because is Nav an industry plant or just somebody with connections? Because he's co-signed by The Weeknd, right? And we've seen him in his videos have Drake, I think French was in his video. He's in a Travis Scott song. He's had a lot of big features. I'm not too sure if we could document his come up song by song. And that gets people a little bit like, how did he do that?
But you're saying he just has connections, he's not a plant. But then how can you say that about Chance?
No, okay, so that's what I'm saying. So is it connections or is it like an industry plan thing? So I think that's where the conversation happens, right? I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I'm just saying I can understand why people have that question about him. Right, because for a lot of other rappers, like it feels like their fans propel them to the next level, and then when they sign,
doesn't Chance have a pretty big fan base too? It's pretty organic. You said if that's lacking, then that shows signs of being an industry plant.
Well, now
he's been out here for a few years.
You're right. Well, now, but just like Russell's point now, prior to him getting to this point, he definitely got in certain positions that shit. Even Russ trying to get into those positions himself.
All right, now stop right there.
Go ahead.
That's where I want to interject. When Russ was here speaking about it, and he said, yo, on Chance's first project, he had X, Y, and Z. And now that I'm in that position, I'm seeing that that's not an easy task. So I'm wondering how he did that. Russ has to answer that question before he can call Chance an industry plant. You have to answer how he did that, how he went about that. You can't just be left to your own thoughts and say, oh, he must be an industry plant. Nah, you can't do that. I'm not saying he's not. Chance is not an industry plant. When I hear the term industry plant, I think that's a created term, like culture vulture. So the definition is going to vary. But industry plant, those two words, as if I simplify it, then I perceive that to mean someone who is being granted placements that their music or their momentum does not warrant.
Yeah.
Industry plant. That would be my isolated, lone definition for that. Now, when I take that definition and think about Chance, no. Industry plant, I've watched Chance grind. I've watched him nurture relationships. This industry is all about relationships. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't have some advantages that gentlemen like Russ and other newer acts do not, but that doesn't make him an industry plant.
What do you chalk up those advantages to be?
I'm not going to snitch on Chance, but Chance and Chance's people have better relationships than probably most of the other newer acts. So that's networking.
Right.
So I guess the new question
solely
is
networking.
I mean, that contributes a lot.
Chance can't. I can't call Chance an industry plant because everybody in the industry has been calling Chance for a few years now, offering him money and opportunities and situations. Like, the world is at his beck and call now. So if we're thinking about when he was planted, well, when was he planted? Are we going to say he was planted around acid rap? No, we're not going to say that.
Because even when that project came out, a lot of people were still executives weren't making those calls at first. I feel like he built the fan base.
So
with some help, but
Okay.
that's not to say that he's a plant.
All right.
Now, Russ, I would call him a plant.
Russ?
Was that the kid that was here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call him a plant.
I mean, his come up is documented as well.
I don't know about it. And that's where we get to a very interesting place. Because people don't know about someone's come up, does that mean that they're a plant? That's a question.
No, I mean, I guess if it would be an uninformed
Tell me
opinion,
more about Russ's come up briefly, please.
I mean, I've seen songs that he released like 8 years ago online, and he seemed like you could check his Twitter. Like he seemed like someone that was grinding from all the way back.
All right,
then.
Let's stop right there for a second. I'm so sick of the grinding stories.
But
all right, let's break this down. Every artist has a story of how you started and your climb and your ascension and things that you went through and your trials and tribulations. Every artist has it. So I don't care. Okay, the kid was making songs 8 years ago. Great. I'm talking about the break. I'm talking about when did the break happen for him?
See, I'm not that familiar with
Okay,
his body of work,
so that-
but
all right.
I would say right before he announced he was on Columbia, because it felt like he had some traction, just not traction enough where he was getting all recognition by like.
Where's he from?
He says from Jersey.
Russ is from Jersey?
Yeah, well, I think Jersey and somewhere else. I think he was born in Jersey. somewhere else.
I'm off on a tangent here, but my point is, I got a lot of points, but if your label is making all of the phone calls and doing the bulk of the work to raise the awareness for you, if they're doing more work than your music is doing, you're going to be perceived to be an industry plant. And I don't mean to disrespect him or anybody that we're talking about here, but I'm not all the way familiar with these people's music and their paths and their grinds. But I'm not going to call everybody a plant. I'm just not going to call everybody a plant.
All right.
But I do understand the term, and I understand calling some people the term.
You're right. And I said it to him, right? Without that like background knowledge of like his come up, he came off as a plant. And I told him, I was like, his record label reached out to me for the first time. It was the first time I ever heard of him. Now, that was like a red flag. First of all, I don't speak to labels. Any labels that email me, and they do for all their artists.
Well, that's a you knock, because you should speak to labels.
No, I don't want. No, I'd rather get it from the people. I've always been for the people. What am I going to do with
I
the
didn't
label?
say to get anything from a label. I said you should speak to labels. Period.
Well,
I didn't say get a song.
No,
I didn't
no.
say get an opinion.
I'm not into labels sending me, oh, this is the package shit for our artists. No, I'll get it like how the rest of the fans get it. The people get it from the internet.
You should speak. That's it. You keep talking about getting something. You ain't got to get shit from labels. I'm talking about for your own information. You're a very perceptive, intuitive man. You should just speak to labels. Just speak.
Okay, but that's still
You don't have to do anything.
No, that's still a separate point. I don't want to hear about an artist, their album, their single from the label.
Got it.
That's prepackaged nonsense. I hear about it just organically. So when I hear about Russ and his label is like, hey, this is this, blah, blah, and I'm like, who is Russ?
Oh, man. That was a great question you just backed me into. And this is my last question here. I hate when the desk is right sometimes. You won't listen to prepackaged bullshit from a label, right? However, you do call yourself a man of the people. You'll listen to the fans. So what's the difference if the fans listen to the prepackaged bullshit from the label and you listen to the fans? Couldn't you just cut that short by talking to the label directly?
No, because most of the people who I'm even covering and most of the people whose music I'm covering, the label hasn't even sent out that prepackaged BS yet.
Got it.
They're having them
Got it.
on their own accord and like, let's see what you could do.
Got
now
it.
when people are gravitating to it, I'm like, this feels organic. When the label pushing a single, it feels very contrived. So that's why I thought Russ was the industry player.
How do you differentiate? All right, this is my new last question.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between, I'm talking about as far as on your page and gauging traction, because you're popular and you have followers. So how do you gauge traction? How do you know if people are commenting and liking because an artist is hot, or they're just commenting because it's funny and troll and they're fans of you? How are you determining the difference?
Because, I mean, I read whether it's emails. Again, I don't read it from the label. Emails, DMs, I look at the conversation they're having. It's easy to tell like if somebody's trolling or not, because usually it's a joke or some shit like that. But if people are genuinely talking about an artist, and most of the artists that I cover, I've been put on to by the people. Like, they're like, hey, this particular song we like. Why haven't you covered this song? Right? So then I'll check it out. And then, of course, there's a test I do for myself. If I like it, we'll rock with it. If I don't like it, I might be slow to the, like, for example, there was we mentioned his name on here, Tay K, he had a song. Mm-hmm. I don't really like the song. I was definitely late to the party on that song because I'm not going to jump on everything just because other people like it. So, I mean, it's a personal vetting process, but I try.
Got it.
I have a question for you. I feel like, are you factoring in an artist's personality and charisma in this whole industry plant combo? Because it sounds like a big conspiracy theory, but I'm sure an artist with a better personality probably moves easier through the. Think about like a French Montana. People say he's like a socialite in the way he moves through rooms. I feel like he's gotten himself to a good place. An artist with a lesser personality might have a harder time.
Yeah, that's me and Joel Ortiz to a T. Joel Ortiz.
I don't want to
will
say you have
light
a
up
lesser
room.
personality though.
No. You're right. But people would say that because Joel Ortiz has the ability to light up any room that he goes in. He'll smile in front of 1 million people. He'll take the pictures. He'll be personable. He'll be friendly, and you will leave saying, Joel Ortiz is fucking amazing, even if I don't listen to Joel Ortiz music. I, on the other hand, not that my personality is lesser, but I'm not given that energy. So you leave there saying, Joe Budden is a dick. Joe Budden is an asshole. No, Joe Budden just didn't want to take 1 million pictures. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Even at labels back in the day, they told me, and I was too young to understand, they said, you want to go and you want to be friendly to the art department. You want to go and you want to be friendly to, you want to make yourself as friendly and personable as possible to all of the departments, because these are the people essentially in charge of your career. Like, so you go ahead and piss one of those people off and you're going to have a really short run. I guess that in a less angry moment, if I were here, that is what I would have said to Russ, because I can identify with being that very young man with an angry chip on his shoulder. In 10 years, Russ don't know who's going to be working where. You have no clue.
Well, he didn't seem to care.
Well, you
constantly
asked. I know you asked him that here, and he said, very, very dismissive. He agreed at first. He said, "Well, yeah, that's true. You never know where people are gonna be." And then he got right back to the bullshit.
Well, according to him, because of the internet, he feels that doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're talking about
today,
people getting nominated for Grammys because of move they're making behind the scenes, like if you're trying to think that far, I know you think the industry is one big machine, and it feels like that sometimes being inside of it. But at the end of the day, it's people behind all of this, and people always remember the way that you make them feel. So if you're going to make people feel like shit on your entire come up, no one's there when
back
you
to
need
the
them.
question you asked, right? About how do I like distinguish between like a French Montana and someone else that we could consider a plant? For me, it looks apparent when someone's cultivating relationships or just like being a socialite and finessing situations out of that, rather than seeing someone at a place where they just don't belong.
How does it seem apparent? Maybe to you.
At
to
least
me,
with French.
I'm not talking.
And I wasn't using French as an example.
Well, French
in
is-
any
French is
planned
all
way.
of these.
I'm
French
talking
is
about
the
his
epitome.
personality.
French, Khaled, they're epitome of like socialites that have. You can see that they have cultivated relationships and they have tried to finesse that into whatever.
So I'm saying it's similar with Chance. He dropped 10 Day, then Acid Rap. He's been building his fan base and also moving behind the scenes. But he's generally a pleasant person to deal
I
with.
think
I'm
there's
just
a lot
saying
of
that could
behind
be.
the scenes
I
stuff
know,
with
I'm just
Chance that
saying.
we don't know.
Okay, but I'm also saying
You
that
get
we
me?
could consider how they
And-
move and not just the conspiracy
And
theory.
that might be why he's not an industry plant. Of course, we're looking from the lens of from the outside looking in, right? I don't know the relationships that he's cultivated that got him in certain spots. Now they might be completely organic. I don't know.
I've seen some of them come up. I'm just saying. I'm just giving
I'll
you a
take
little
your
bit
word. I'll take your
of my
word.
input.
I don't ever think any of these entertainers are friendly, buddy, coochie, BFF, like they try to make us believe in the pictures. Every day we see a new picture of some celebrities hanging out together with a caption. It's all work.
And by the way, are we acting like, remember when Wale he kind of like halfway called out Chance? He was alluding to like a quality or
I don't
an
wanna-
attribute of
I don't
an
want us to
industry
put
plant.
words in Wale's mouth. I don't know if he called Chance out
Okay.
directly here. We assume
Okay.
from what Wale said.
Let's remove Chance from that.
Please, yeah.
It appears that he was saying that other people are getting opportunities by non-organic means.
I want Wale uncut. I want
while
a Wale.
while it
unplugged.
would seemingly look like it's like all because they're a good guy or because they're just lucky to be, or it just happens to fall in place.
I know, and that would seem like it's 100% directed at Chance when Wale says it. When I hear Wale say it, that applies to at least 300 niggas. All of these niggas, honestly, it's their job. It's their job to come off a certain way. It's their job to be perceived a certain way. It's their job to be likable to people. Most of these entertainers have zero idea of who they are even. They've lived their life according to what other people say is okay and not.
I mean, listen, in my opinion, Chance now, of course he's not an industry plant. I don't even believe Nav is an industry plant. I saw Nav felt a little bit defensive, but I don't think Nav's an industry plant. I think it's so hard to tell now. It's so hard to tell.
I'm not familiar enough with anybody in hip hop to know who's an industry plant and who's not. Now, R&B, I maybe could tell you.
R&B plants.
And I think
Some
maybe
R&B plants going on.
Do you think
out
that
here.
probably happens more often in R&B than in rap? right?
100%.
Crafting that
100%.
star.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
You're gonna name some people?
No.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.